This is my first time really traveling in Europe, and Porto seems to be the perfect introduction. The city has amazed me in so many ways right from the start. Porto has amazing beauty, a captivating history, charming streets and alleyways, and some really delicious food. In this episode, we're going to discover the city's hot spots and go off the beaten track to find out what makes Porto such an amazing destination. The second largest city in Portugal, Porto, is one of the oldest cities in Europe, going back over 1,000 years. Downtown Porto's historic center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, bordered by an arcaded walk that contains shops and restaurants built into the old city wall. The historic heart of the city is a maze of narrow stone alleyways. Porto City proper has a population of around 232,000, and the surrounding metro area has approximately 1.7 million people. We're going to start by showing you some of the things you just can't miss when you visit Porto. Am I at a museum or an art gallery? Neither one. I am at one of the most beautiful railway stations in the world, the São Bento, located in the historic district of Porto. The São Bento railway station is resplendent with 20,000 azulejo tiles. The first tile was laid in 1905 and the last in 1916. These beautiful hand-painted tiles reflect important events and people throughout Portugal's history. Beyond the station's beauty, São Bento is still a working station and the gateway to other destinations around Portugal. The station sits right in the heart of the city. Here, the hustle and bustle takes place surrounded by stunning architecture and charming cafes. This is a perfect place to introduce yourself to Porto and begin to take it all in. Just a short walk up the hill from the train station is one of the most important monuments in Porto, the Porto Cathedral. It's easy to spot as it is built on the highest point in all of Porto. Many Gothic and Baroque alterations and additions have been made to the cathedral over the centuries, but the general aspect of the facade has remained Romanesque. One addition in 1333 was the Gothic funerary chapel and tomb of a knight, João Gordo. This cathedral is also where King John I married English Princess Philippa of Lancaster in 1387. Make a plan to get to the cathedral early in the day as it can get very busy. Wow, the Porto Cathedral is amazing. You have got to come here if you're in Porto. There is so much to see in here. The price of admission is €3, and you even get to climb up a narrow winding staircase to the bell towers that leads out to a magnificent view of the city. The view alone is worth the price of admission. Just to the west, down a flight of stairs from the cathedral, you will find a stunning museum of sacred art and archaeology. The museum is packed with history and artifacts, and you can climb to the top of the bell towers of the church of São Lourenco, where there is a good chance of having this fantastic view all to yourself. Right around the corner from the Porto Cathedral is the Dom Luís Bridge. This is easily the most recognizable and iconic spot in all of Porto. Built in 1876, this double-deck metal arch bridge spans the Douro River, connecting Porto to the city of Gaia. Its lower level services automobiles, while the upper level is used for the Porto metro trains and pedestrians. When it was built, it was the longest arch bridge in the world at 564 feet. Walking across the bridge day or night, and you should experience both, you are rewarded with stunning views in every direction. Upstream in the Douro Valley, downstream to the Atlantic Ocean, and the views of Porto City are to die for from here. There is a large viewing platform at the monastery just across the bridge that allows for stunning views of the bridge itself. Below, boats on the very popular Six Bridges tour give a unique view of the city and tell the history of all the bridges. The most popular tour is just under an hour and is a great way to see the Douro waterfront and the stunning buildings that line the banks. Carrying on across the Dom Luis Bridge, Gaia makes for a more laid-back escape from Porto proper. Gaia is home to the famous port wine caves. The caves of over 50 wine companies can be found in this area, and many of them are open for tourists to visit. It's worth taking the time to explore the back streets of Gaia, getting away from the waterfront, and strolling its historic streets and alleys where you will be rewarded with some old world charm and stunning views of Porto. I came upon the Taylor, one of the very oldest port wine houses, dating back to 1692. I loved Taylor's. Here you don't go on an organized tour, but have the chance to explore at your own pace. You can walk the long barrel rooms, get educated on the history of port wine, and best of all, you finish in a beautiful rose garden that serves as their tasting room. The price for the self-guided tour includes the tasting of 2 ports, but they also offer a port wine menu that allows you to taste some of the more valuable and highly sought-after vintages. I decided to splurge a little and tasted the 40-year-old and the very old port, which was 52 years old. The difference was remarkable. These were absolutely fantastic and so much more complex than what I had previously tasted. I am definitely now a fan. The wine itself is not grown in Gaia or Porto, but the cooler climate near the coast provides the perfect climate for it to age. The barrels of wine were historically transported down the river by boat from the vineyards in the Douro Valley. If you have the time, it is an absolute must to spend a day or more in the Douro Valley. Not only is it stunningly beautiful, but you will learn the history and tradition of what makes the area perfect to grow port grapes. The Douro River winds its way through the narrow valley that is lined with gorgeous vineyards and dotted with breathtaking villages. So this morning we're going to change things up a little bit. We're headed about a mile outside of the historic city center. Should be an easy walk. We're going to a famous place called the Crystal Gardens. It's supposed to be spectacular and we can't wait to see it. Getting around Porto is easy and there are lots of transportation options. The metro trains are easy and utilize a pay-by-zone system and will get you around town and to and from the airport. There are plenty of buses, Uber, and other ride apps are available, and there is even the historic tram system that still runs a few lines. This is mostly utilized by tourists. There is also a cable car that will take you up from the river to the Dom Luis Bridge on the Gaia side of the river. I found Porto to be a very walkable city, with most sites being within 15 minutes of the center of town. The Crystal Gardens is situated on a bluff that overlooks the Douro River and across the river to the city of Gaia. Not only is the view breathtaking, these gardens are awesome. The Crystal Palace Gardens were designed in the 19th century, but the palace itself is long gone. It was demolished in 1951 and replaced with a dome-shaped arena known as the UFO. These botanical gardens are known as an escape to the locals and tourists alike, and you can definitely tell why. It is so peaceful, beautiful, and tranquil here. Give yourself several hours to explore this beautiful park. Entrance is free, and there are even several large friendly peacocks that call this place home. The Crystal Garden is actually a mosaic of many small gardens connected by pathways, lawns, fountains, and sculptures. And best of all, it's all free to the public. There are views from the edge of the garden looking down on the Douro. This place is here for the purpose of relaxation. So find yourself a peaceful little corner and enjoy a few moments of Zen. After several hours at the park, I made my way over to a great little place called the Base Porto. The Base is a bar situated in an old olive grove where you can get a drink and relax on the grass, surrounded by historic buildings. It's hard to imagine a more chilled and relaxing spot to have a drink and listen to some nice music. I have found myself at the Base on quite a few occasions since I arrived in Porto. Making the effort to explore the areas away from the city center, you are sure to be rewarded. I stumbled across Poveiros Square and Park one day by mistake, and it became one of my favorite areas of Porto. Poveiros Square is a beautiful local neighborhood. It features a wonderful park and other lovely green spaces. The neighborhood has a real bohemian feel. It is lined with bars and restaurants that feature authentic Portuguese food. And best of all, it's only a 10-minute walk from the historic city center. I stopped at a place called Casa Guedes, which has been around for decades and has 3 locations around Porto. Here I was able to sample some great Portuguese food, such as bolinhos de bacalhau, steak prego rolls, delicious pork sandwiches, and I also tried a heavenly pancetta, which was cooked to crispy perfection. Other delightful foods widely available around Porto include the cachorrinos hot dogs and a crazy drown sandwich called the francesina. And whatever you do, don't forget the pastel de nata tarts with a great espresso-style coffee. When we first came up here, Casa Guedes had such a huge line that there was no way we could just wait to get in, so we ate elsewhere. But we came back here for lunch today, and it did not disappoint. Before getting to my favorite spot in Porto, there are a few other tourist hotspots that I really need to mention, and you should definitely try to make time to visit. Located 1 block up from the Douro River is another famous historic site, the Bolsa Palace. Also known as the Stock Exchange, was built by the Commercial Business Owners Association back in the mid-1800s. No royalty ever lived here. It's called a palace because of the wonderful way it's decorated, the fine works of art inside, and so decorated inside it took 60 years to finish. A tour of a former stock exchange might not sound that exciting, but I promise, this historic building is well worth seeing. The interiors are absolutely gorgeous, and the Arab room was breathtaking. One of the most impressive things I have seen in Porto, and the most beautiful church interior I have ever seen, is at the Monument Church of St. Francis. This cathedral dates back to the 14th century, and while the exterior of the building is impressive, the interior is beyond belief. Unfortunately, they do not allow photography inside, so you will just have to come and check out the intricate gilt wood-carved altarpiece for yourself when you come to visit Porto. Igreja dos Clérigos, or Church of the Clergymen, is another impressive Baroque structure here in Porto. The church was completed in 1750. The impressive 246-foot tall bell tower with its stairway of 240 steps was completed in 1763. The Clérigos Tower is not only beautiful, if you climb the 6 floors to the top, you are rewarded with an impressive view of the city. This great bell tower has become a symbol of the city. And while it is a must-visit site, be sure to get here early, as the stairs and the top of the tower can get very crowded. On my very first day in Porto, I was exploring the city and came across what has turned out to be my very favorite spot, Virtudes Park. This beautiful and relaxing place is tucked into a narrow canyon, only a 5-minute walk from the center. There are several terraced levels and great shady spots to relax. While I love the Crystal Gardens, I am so happy to have discovered Virtudes Park. Not only is it closer to the city center, but it is a wonderful place to take in some great views of the Douro River. Virtudes feels like a sanctuary. The Crystal Palace Gardens are spectacular, but there are comparatively so few people in Virtudes that you can easily find a complete escape and leave all your worries behind. I brought along a picnic today of some bread, wine, and chorizo, and I can't think of a better place to enjoy it. I am a little sad though, as I will be leaving Porto tomorrow, off to another destination. Porto has been a real delight, and I can't wait to come back here in the future.